Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about something extremely specific, and that is coping with the loss of your pet while you're chronically ill. If you haven't seen my previous video, I would recommend that you go watch that first. I lost my dog Sandy about a month ago as of the recording of this video. She had advanced dementia, and we had to put her down because she was just declining a lot. And the weird thing was how blindsided I was by what came after. The decision itself, I didn't feel was difficult. We knew several months ago that this day was coming, and so I knew that it was on the horizon, but for whatever reason, I did not anticipate what came after. And I talk about this in my other video as well because I have lost a pet before. She's not the first pet that I lost. We actually lost the dog that we had before her in an accident. This, and I thought to myself, I don't want that to happen to her. And she was definitely getting to the point where we were risking having a pretty, a serious accident with her, and I didn't want to go through that again. And for whatever reason, I felt like, putting her down is going to be so much better and so much easier than what happened with her previous dog. And that was not the case. So, so I talk about how I got really sick after we put her down. We scheduled it, we took her in. She was still very physically active. She was still physically moving, and she actually moved a lot. It was mentally, her dementia was just causing her to decline rapidly. I got scared and thought, that she might have a brain tumor because the neurological issues were just seemed to be advancing quite quickly. And so I wanted to prevent extra pain for her. And then, of course, me trying to manage her health while managing my own as well was becoming increasingly difficult. Trying to keep her safe, trying to keep her from, forcing herself under furniture. Anytime I would leave the house, it was like extreme anxiety because I was worried that something would happen to her because, she would get stuck in corners, she would freak out, and things like that. So I know that I made the best decision for her. I just did not expect, to feel this bad, physically, mentally, having, a flare of my medical condition. This is, an inevitability for all of us, even those of us that are chronically ill. We can live many, many, many years chronically ill. We can probably have several pets during that time come and go, as well as family members. I've spoken about this in other videos that I've lost family members. There have been other people in the chronic illness community that have passed during this time. And it's almost inevitable when you're sick for such a long time that people will die or pets will die during the time of your illness. I just did not expect it to be this hard. I was not anticipating this. And so I know that there are other people that are going through this or that have gone through this before me and that are going to go through this after me. And so I felt that this video would be really helpful, especially for those of you that know you have a pet, you know that the pet is getting older, or you are also having an increased, amount of trouble caring for your pet because of your illness and because of their advanced age. And I know some people don't want to let their animal go. I think knowing what I know now, I think if I got another dog, I definitely would struggle letting them go when the time came because I know how bad it feels now. I did not expect this. And like I said, I have lost a dog before, and this was very, very different. So one of the first things that I recommend is to prepare yourself. Obviously, if you lose your animal in an accident, there's really no way to prepare yourself for that. But if you know that the day is coming and you're seeing the signs in your pet, and you have to, prepare yourself for that. Um, it's not just preparation mentally, it's also physically. If you suffer from a chronic condition, chances are you will flare up after the loss of your pet. That's what happened to me. I broke out in cold sores all over my mouth. My gut issues flared up. I was having stomach pain for probably almost 2 weeks after, just issues. I would eat and, the food just would hit my stomach, and I just didn't feel well. And I wasn't really doing anything different as far as my diet or anything like that. I know it was from the loss because it felt so strong and so hard. It was so much worse than what I had anticipated. But the things that you can do is continue to maintain a healthy diet. If you're on a restricted diet or, a very specific diet to keep your inflammation down, keep doing that. There is the temptation to, and I think I did do this, kind of binging on sugar a little bit, or on things that maybe we shouldn't be eating, and having a little bit more of those things. I would try to be very careful with that because your immune system is going to take a hit. And if you have one of those immune systems that is just very sensitive to everything, I would do everything that you can to maintain it the best that you possibly can. That means, maintaining your diet, taking your supplements. Don't skip your supplements. There were days when I was tempted to skip my B12 injections because I was tired. I was tired from taking care of my dog. I just wanted to sit. There were also days when I would have to put her in my arms because she just couldn't settle down at night. And that's usually when I would do my injection. So it was just like, oh, I have to put her in my arms for a while until she calms down long enough, or until she falls asleep, and then put her back in her bed. So you do have to sort of strike a balance and not neglect yourself because of your pet. And I'll talk about that a little bit more during this video. So take your supplements, don't skip. You may even have to add maybe a little bit of extra supplements, maybe higher doses of vitamins or something, because your body is really going to feel the loss. Continue self-care. If you do meditation, if you have hobbies, fun things that you do. Yes, it's really sad to see your pet decline. It was hard, especially that last month, because at first I kind of thought the things that she was doing were kind of funny, like when she would get stuck in a corner. She wasn't actually stuck in the corner. She just couldn't turn around, so she would start like barking and getting mad. But then I started noticing that it wasn't anger, it was fear, because she would start urinating. Because I would leave her there. I was like, you can turn around, like it's not that hard. But she didn't know. She didn't know that she could turn around, so she would start urinating from the fear of thinking that she was stuck when she wasn't. And so I started feeling bad, and I was like, okay, well, I have to make sure that she's, that I'm constantly, pulling her away from corners and things like that. But at the same time, we forget to do the things that we like maybe watching a YouTube video or reading a book or taking a warm bath or something, and pampering ourselves. It does become difficult because we have to be constantly monitoring our pet. Also, getting the best sleep that you possibly can. If you live with other people, you may try sharing the responsibility of your pet. And that's, I would tell my mom on the weekends when I would go out to the swap meet, like, hey, can you just watch her? Just keep a close eye on her, because, I need to get out. Like, I can't just stop everything because I know that she's old. So getting the best sleep was very difficult because she wasn't sleeping well. She did sleep, pretty good compared to what I've read with other dogs that have dementia. But she wasn't sleeping like the best that she could, and that was also disrupting my sleep. So if you can share the load with someone else, if there's someone that's willing to keep her in their room at night, maybe a couple nights a week so that you could get better rest, I would highly recommend that. And I kind of wish that I would have done that with my parents. Like, the only thing is that they sleep on the second floor, and I kind of didn't, my dog couldn't go up and down stairs anymore. But I kind of do wish that I would have given her to my dad maybe a couple nights a week to just sleep on his floor, so that I could get some nights of continuous sleep, because you're gonna need that. Your health is going to be impacted probably no matter what you do. So be prepared. If you still work, even though you're chronically ill, you may want to schedule some time off or save your time off for after you put your pet down, because you probably won't be feeling well. You probably won't want to go to work. I mean, work could help you cope, but it depends on how badly you flare after you put your pet down. It was bad. At least for me, it was bad. Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if I did have a job, but it was bad. And so I was not, there was no way that I could, that I could have managed working or anything after that. It was just not good. So taking care of yourself, prepping your body, doing things that pamper you, maybe taking an Epsom salt bath to detox or to loosen that tension, some kind of self-care. That way your body is in the best shape that it can possibly be in before you put your dog down. Know it's for the best. I wasn't thinking about myself. So and now I'm thinking about myself, but at that time, especially when I saw her declining rapidly, mentally declining rapidly, I knew that something had to be done, and something had to be done now. It had to be done quickly. And so we made the appointment, like, I think a day or two before. And that was it. And I had a long-term plan. I was planning on, probably mid-May, my sister was going to move in and that kind of thing. So, I had everything planned out. And unfortunately, because I saw her declining, we had to kind of fast forward it. And so I knew that it had to be done for her. And I knew that I'm still confident in my decision that I did the very best for her, not for me. And it's funny because I wrote here on my notes, don't think about yourself. And then I'm going to proceed to think about myself afterwards. But I wasn't thinking about myself. I was really concerned that there was something worse going on with her. And I didn't want that. At 16 and a half, there's nothing, if she would have had a brain tumor, we're not going to do brain surgery on a dog that's 16 and a half years old. She wouldn't survive that either. So I knew that this was the only choice and the best choice for her. Think about your own suffering. If you don't enjoy suffering, if you don't enjoy being sick day to day, or every single day, and some of us do suffer with confusion, with memory loss, things like that, and we get distressed by that. So you can imagine how that is for a small animal. I often would think about that. I don't like being sick. I don't like feeling lost and feeling like, I don't know what to do anymore. She doesn't like that either. She wasn't enjoying not knowing where she was or not recognizing us, because I think at that point the only person that she might have recognized is me. But my dad, who she was so close to and loved him probably more than the rest of us, it had already been a few years that she wouldn't really hang out with him anymore. And so she was losing recognition of people and probably losing recognition of where she was. So, we don't like to suffer. And I come from it from this point of view of being chronically ill and suffering every day, and thinking that I was putting her through that as well. And that her suffering could possibly have gotten much worse if I hadn't intervened at the point when I did. Also, too, like I said, this is not about you, but it is, right? This is also impacting your health. Yes, it's going to impact your health a lot to put your dog down, but for me, I wasn't getting uninterrupted sleep because I had to wake up, and put her back in her bed because she would get up and she would be lost at night. She wouldn't bark or anything, not all the time, but she would get up and she would get out of her bed and then she would kind of get stuck somewhere, or she wouldn't know where she was. So I would have to get up, put her back in her bed. Or she would just wake up and make noise, like little noises and stuff. And, I'm not a heavy sleeper anymore, so that would wake me up. The stress level, I did talk about this in my other video. Anytime I would leave the house to run an errand, no matter how short it was, I was freaking out because I was scared that something would happen to her. And so I was constantly telling, like my mom, like, keep an eye on her, please keep an eye on her. I'll be back in a few minutes. Like, I was in this constant state of stress, even if I was there at the house with her. She had gotten stuck under my recliner a few times, and that, would throw me into panic. There was one time when, actually a few times when I was like either in the shower or on the toilet, and she would get herself stuck somewhere. And I'm, calling out for help and telling my mom, like, hey, can you go check on her? I hear her barking. I'm soaking wet, or I'm, stuck in a situation dealing with a chronic medical problem. And, I need to call someone else to come and check on her, and she would be stuck somewhere. And, we had some pretty close calls. So it's impacting you, it's stressing you out, and it's affecting your health. And it's only going to keep affecting your health. As long as they're alive and struggling, you're going to be struggling along with them. And so, you also get frustrated and you get angry at the pet and you start becoming resentful. And I did have a couple of moments where that happened, where I would get really angry at her because she would get in between my feet while I was cooking. And it wasn't her fault. She was probably having, I look back now and I think she was probably having separation anxiety because she would love to get in between everybody's feet. And once you start feeling that resentment or that anger towards your pet, it's not a good thing. And it's probably a sign that both of you are exhausted and you can't do this anymore. So know it's for the best. You're not doing this because you hate your pet. You're not doing this because you just want to get rid of them. You're doing it because they're not okay, and neither are you. And it's impacting both of you. Here's the most important thing, and I do think, even though at first it didn't feel like it, I do think these things have made a difference. Have an aftercare plan, or a aftercare or during care plan. I don't know how to describe it, but my plan, and I described this in my previous video, was, my sister and her husband were going to come move in with us for a while with their dog because they're saving up to buy a house. So I had already discussed it with my sister. I was like, you guys are going to move in. We'll wait a few weeks and then we'll make the appointment and we'll take my dog and have her put down. So we kind of already knew. And I was also kind of planning a trip. I had all of these things kind of arranged because I knew that I was going to be sad. I didn't anticipate how sad, but I knew that I was going to be sad. And I thought, we'll have all of these distractions. My sister and her husband will be here. Their dog will be here, so the house won't be empty. Maybe I'll have this trip planned, so a few weeks after, I'll be somewhere else. I'll be totally distracted. The plan, things didn't go 100% according to plan because I had to move up the euthanasia because I saw her declining, like, quickly. There was something seriously wrong with her, and I was like, yeah, I think we need to do this now. But it happened to be the Friday before my sister officially moved into the house. So it happened that Friday, and then the next day we had people here. My brother was here, my sister's brother-in-law was here. Everybody was here helping them move into the house. So it worked out that the house wasn't empty and quiet. And so I was still sad, trust me. I was still devastated, but I think it would have been a lot worse if all of this stuff hadn't been happening at the time. It would have been a totally empty house. You know, usually Sunday mornings, if I don't go to the swap meet, you know, I'm here by myself because my parents go to church. I would have been feeling, I can't imagine feeling worse than what I felt. Um, you may not have that same option, but maybe, you know, if you live alone, is it possible that you can pet sit for a friend? Is it possible for you to have a friend come and spend the night with you for the first few nights? Is it possible for you to go and, you know, stay with family for a while, so that you don't feel the loss of that pet? You know, if you already live in a home with people, maybe you could foster a pet. I did look into that, but, you know, my situation being what it is, I don't think fostering would be great right now. Um, is there a project that you've been wanting to do for a long time that you haven't been able to do because you had this pet or because you were caring for this pet? Is there some self-care stuff that you've been wanting to do for a long time, like taking a long soak in a bath, but you just weren't able to because you had to be watching your pet? I would recommend having those things lined up, you know, right after, you know, you put your pet down. That way you have all of these other things to do. If you're able to travel or able to go somewhere, plan those trips, or those activities after the loss of your pet. I know that this is not realistic for all of us who are chronically ill, um, but think about something that you could do. Fostering, I think, would be nice because you don't have the commitment of the pet, but then again, the pets eventually get adopted, and that's again another loss. So you have to ask yourself whether you're willing to go through that again, or if it's just, you know, for me, I felt like it would have been the better option because I can't keep a pet permanently right now. So fostering would be like a nice way to have pets, but just for a temporary amount of time because I can't permanently have a pet for a while. Um, you know, like I said, don't neglect self care. Continue to do things for yourself. There are pet bereavement. I think, you know, like the ASPCA. You know, you could just Google pet bereavement, because it was so much worse than I anticipated. So they have hotlines that you can call to talk about the loss of your pet. Maybe you can connect with other people. I don't know if there's support groups out there of other people that have lost their pets. We actually had a neighbor who, we knew her dog was old as well. She was close to the same age as our dog. And just by sheer coincidence, she put her dog down the same day that we put ours down. So a couple of days later, you know, after we found out, we took them a gift, and we kind of got to chit chat. So that was kind of like our own mini support group. And believe it or not, that really helped because I was so sad that my dog passed. And I think the saddest part was leaving because we took her to the vet. We actually went to the vet and had her put down there. And then we left without her. And I left, you know, we left her body there. They took it for cremation. And that was kind of hard for me because I was like, she's all alone. Like she's by herself, and we just left her there, until we get her remains back. So when we went, you know, when I found out that my neighbor had lost her dog, they had actually done in-home euthanasia. Um, we went over there, and it was comforting to know that another dog had died the same day that my dog had died. So she didn't go by herself. It I don't know, it's just a weird psychological thing, but I felt like, you know, she didn't go by herself. She went with a friend. She's, you know, not alone. So that was kind of, comforting. So it does help to talk to other people that are going through it. And if you could find someone who is chronically ill, who is also going through it, that would probably be really great too. Because you're going to go through some unique challenges after the loss of your pet. Um, so like I said, just continue to take care of yourself. Make sure that you prep your body, prep your mind, but prep your body because your immune system is going to freak out a little bit. And that was the one thing that, you know, I wasn't, I mean, I'm not surprised, but for whatever reason, I wasn't expecting it. And I wasn't expecting kind of that deep loneliness. Um, but I was very lucky that our house has been full. Um, this whole month. I mean, I think today is like the first day in the whole month that I have had some alone time. But I mean, actually, my sister's dog is still here, so I'm technically not by myself. So I think that is kind of key, is just to try not to be alone, or at least to try to feel, you know, even if it's through Zoom to talk to someone or over the phone to talk to someone, have those things in place beforehand. That way it helps you to cope. So anyways, thank you so much for hearing me out. I did not think that I was going to cry during this one, but I really appreciate you guys being here. If you like this video, if you have anything else to add, any comforting words or any other things that you have learned from the loss of your pet, please leave them down below, because they would be so, so helpful. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.